Thank you very much. Oh, boy, I'll tell you. Yeah. God, it's hard to follow Millie, isn't it? What can I possibly say to add to that, to get you stimulating? Phoebe, do you have anything for me? You have a note? You have a note for me? All right. Could you stand up? It's Phoebe Brown. Every Sunday when she comes here, she brings me a little note and inspiration of something that she's written out through the week. And stand up. Let me introduce you. Phoebe and I have been together for 25 years. And do you mind if I tell your age?
I don't care.
How old?
I don't care.
How old?
94.
94 years old. 94 years old. I bet I have over 1,000 of these little handwritten notes that she brings me, and everyone is just seemingly perfect for the day. This one says, "Close to my heart I fold each lovely thing the sweet day yields, and not disconsolate with calm silence of the words, I wait for leaf and blossom when God gives us spring." Thanks, Phoebe. My good friend Michael Reeves is here from Atlanta, and Michael, I have something to tell you. Even though you live in Atlanta, and Susan Griggs lives in Brookside, since she's got this new guy, your attendance records are about equal when it comes to church. So, and last week, anybody here watch Dancing with Stars? Well, last week I had a great opportunity to see Kansas City Dancing with Stars, and the person that won the grand prize, first place, did a tango that was just spectacular, and she's part of our spiritual community. Mary Lockton, would you please stand up? It was a benefit for Cristo Rey High School, which just has a remarkable way of educating high school children. And I believe it's led by the sisters from Leavenworth or something. Anyway, this is what I know to be true about you. You were born into this world. Your life began. At some point in time, you'll leave this earth. Your life will be complete. From the beginning to the completion, there's time. It's your time. It's called your lifetime. And you can spend that time any way you choose. It's all yours. Now, it's very important how we spend our time, because time is movement. And if we get stuck in something, if we find ourselves with a problem or a challenge or some sort of a setback or an upset, and we get stuck there, time is movement. Time continues on. We lose that time, never to recapture it, because we're stuck back at the point where we ran into the obstacle. So the first point of the lesson today is, if you run into a problem, don't get stuck, don't resist, continue to move forward. It will take care of itself in many occasions, and you'll be just fine, you'll be okay. So you have this span of time, it's called lifetime, and we have before us the responsibility to spend that time wisely, very much like we do with money. Two people get paid. The first person takes his paycheck. He goes and he buys groceries, fills the car up with gas, buys some new clothes, goes out for dinner, meets some friends, sees a movie, goes to bed thinking he spent his money wisely. He got great benefit out of it, and he has a sense of well-being about that. The other person takes his money. He goes to the dog track. He's going to double his money. He loses it all. He goes to sleep with an ill feeling because he didn't spend his money wisely. And it's the same thing with the time that we have. Our primary responsibility, our purpose, the meaning of life is to spend that time on things or on people or in places that increase our sense of well-being. That's one thing that every single one of us want. We're all different. The thing I know about you is that there's never, ever been another you in the history of time. No matter how far back we go, there's never been another you. And no matter how far we go in the future, there never will be another you. Never in the history of time has there been a life that's led exactly like yours. Never will be the life that is led exactly like yours. You are unique. Your life is unique. And you have this time to spend it in. Now, the reason I say this, and you hear me say it all the time, and the reason I say this is I want to press upon you the importance, the absolutely importance, the preciousness of you and your life. And it's confined to a small space of time in the grand expanse of things. And it's up to us to spend that time in a way that increases our well-being, or at least maintains it. There's a story about Jesus passing through a town in Bethesda. And Bethesda was known for its great healing pools. And as he moved through the town, there was a man sitting by the side of one of the pools, and he was unable to walk or some sort of thing. And Jesus stopped to talk to him and asked him what he was doing. He says, well, I come here to the pools to be healed. And Jesus said, how long have you been coming? He said, oh, gosh, over 20 years. I'm not sure exactly. And he says, well, do you ever get in the pool? And the guy said, well, no, I don't. There's always too many people in it. And then he says, and besides, there's nobody here to help me. And then went on excuse after excuse after excuse while he had been sitting beside the healing pool for 20 years or more and never getting in. And so Jesus said, do you want to be healed? And he wasn't doing it in a sarcastic way. He's really trying, do you want to be healed? And the guy says, yeah, but, and he starts in with another excuse, do you want to be healed? The guy said, yes. And then Jesus said, well, then get up and get going. You've got to do something. You've got to move. You can't sit here day after day after day and expect yourself to get healed unless you take the first step forward to making that happen. You got to move. And the point is, when we get stuck in anything, whether it's a conflictive relationship or whether it's a problem that we mull over and over and over until it builds into a huge mountain, or whatever it is, a challenge, when we get stuck there and we continue to think it over and over and over and develop this whole story around it, this poor me and this mountain of a problem story, as I said before, our time, that precious a lot of time that you have, that time passes us by. It doesn't stop. Time is movement. And we lose it. Now, I know people that are 3 days from death's door, and they're still asking for something or they're doing something that increases their sense of well-being in their lives. It might be a bouquet of flowers, it might be reading out of daily word, it might be something, but they're still making some effort, they're still moving to increase their satisfaction and fulfillment with life. And I know people that have 30, 40 years ahead of them, and they do absolutely nothing to change anything. They're stuck in their problems. They're stuck in their misery. They're stuck in their suffering. Each and every one of us has within us the power to live a life that is comfortable and fulfilling. The one thing that each and every one of us has in common is the desire for well-being. The one thing that each and every one of us in the room has is the capacity, the potential, the ability, the capacity to increase or maintain our well-being. And it's not only us, it's every creature on the earth, if you stop and think about it. Every single animal, every bird, every insect, every fish does what it has to do every day to maintain a sense of well-being. And it's been given what it needs to do that. Every other creature on earth except for human beings. Somehow, with all of our brilliance, we choose to not increase our well-being, but to increase our ill-feeling by dwelling on the negative. Your life is very, very simple. You can read all sorts of books that seem to complicate it. You can read all sorts of different theories and listen to all sorts of different tapes and go to different seminars that complicates things, but it's very, very simple. And that's all we have to do is just learn the basic principles, the same principles that every single other creature in nature follows. Just learn those and comply with them. There's a story of two guys that lived in the inner city. They've been there their entire lives. They're in their mid-adult age, and they decided to go visit the country for the first time. So they get in the car and they drive out to the country. They're going down a country road, and there they see a farmer on his tractor plowing a field. The one brother says, look at that guy. He must be crazy. He spends all day going up and down that field, digging up the dirt and turning it over. He's totally destroying that beautiful meadow. He must be a madman. The next day they drive down the same road and there's the same farmer and he's out there sowing grain into the furrows. And the one brother says, look at what he's doing now. He's sowing that perfectly good grain away. What is wrong with this guy? This whole country thing just doesn't work for me. People out here are crazy. I'm going back to the city. The other brother stayed. As time went by, he'd drive by the field and he saw that where the man had planted seeds, now the sprouts were coming up and there was this rich, lush carpet of green covering the entire field. Then a couple weeks later, the wheat had grown and there were golden waves of wheat blowing in the wind. And then he saw the farmer come and harvest the grain and fill up many, many silos in order to make lots and lots of food. And then and only then did he understand that every single thing the farmer did was for a purpose. It had meaning to it. So it is with our lives. Every single thing that life brings to us has purpose and it has meaning. Every single thing that we put forth has purpose and meaning behind it. All we have to know is the four simple, little, basic principles on how to live life in order to continually be moving to higher states of well-being and capturing higher good. The first step is to have what we want. We have desires, we have needs. We like to have what we want. Not having what we want is like having an itch that can't be scratched. We desire that our desires and our dreams be fulfilled. We need to have what we want. Now, life is an emotional experience. Every single thing we do, every action that we take, is designed for the emotion that we'll experience at the end of that action or at the end of that word. Life is an emotional experience. Everything leads to an emotion that we hope will make us feel good. So when it talks about having what we want, it's really going beyond material things, the material possessions, and having the emotion that we know that will bring us. Whether it be love or whether it be harmony, whether it be happiness, joy, whatever it is, we need to have what we want, which is that deep, inner, rich, emotional feeling of goodness. Of thank God I'm alive. So the first step is we need to have what we want. And the second step is we need to want what we have. Sometimes our lives are cluttered with all sorts of things that we don't want. It might be tattered relationships that can't be repaired. It might be living in a neighborhood that just doesn't suit us, or in a state, or in a city, or in a country. There are things in our life that we don't want, but we should move to the point where everything in our life is what we want. Now, I had a lady come to me several years ago, and we were talking about this same thing. And she says, well, I have something that I have in my life that I don't want, and I just can't seem to get rid of it. I said, what is that? And she says, aging. I just am having a difficult time aging. I said, well, you have options. You don't have to age. She sat there and thought about that. And I could almost see a little sizzle in her brain coming forward. What would be the option? What would be the option? Well, not to age would be not to live. And I don't mind aging. But there's options for everything. So we have what we want what we have. And then the second part of that is to accept the unchangeable. Aging is an unchanging aspect if we want to live. Accept the unchangeable. A lot of times other people would like them to be different than they are, but that's not for us to say. Accept the unchangeable. You know, we just went through a very cold and miserable winter, and many of us complained about the kind of cold weather days that we had. We didn't want those days in our lives, but we couldn't change those things. So if you can't change the unacceptable, you have to accept the unchangeable. Now, I put this on the front of the bulletin because on a regular basis, a good exercise is to sit down and just list, have what I want. What is it I want in my life? If we don't sit down and put it in some sort of an order, life seems to pass us by. And we all know that 10 years can pass like that. 15 years, 20 years goes by, and all of a sudden we wake up and realize, my gosh, how did I spend that 20 years? How did I spend my time?